Hey, all right, there we go. Finally logged on here. So let me know down in the chat if the chat is working. Of course, first off, see if the chat's working on my end. Also, all right, looks like mine went through. I'm not seeing anybody else's. There we go. All right, the chat is working. Of course, that is the first thing that we always check. All right, today, so like the big story today ended up being that Adam Stern reported that FedEx the CEO or whatever said they have not hit the earnings in quarter 2 like they were expecting to hit. That is something, of course, always I already went over in another video. So nothing really to cover. Like I said, I don't think FedEx would necessarily pull all the way out of Joe Gibbs, but they might. They could possibly pull all the way out of Joe Gibbs. But I think what is actually more likely to happen is they just don't do the full season like they have been doing. I think that is more likely to happen. Like I said, they've got a new CEO, they've got a new person in front with the marketing and stuff like that. So I don't see them pulling all the way out of Joe Gibbs, but I could see a situation where you would have them maybe go half of a season or something like that. I could definitely see something like that definitely going on. And of course, the other thing that a lot of people are still talking about, a lot of people still talking about that projected thing from also the Sports Business Journal. Actually, I can't remember the guy, Orand. I think his name was Orand, where he predicted that NBC and Fox would retain the rights for the NASCAR broadcast schedule, and they would also put some of the races on the Peacock streaming service. And that, of course, has been met with a lot of negative press. So just so much stuff going on. So we will see what you guys want to talk about. But of course, the really interesting thing, of course, was Denny Hamlin and FedEx. Will FedEx come back? FedEx, of course, reporting today, according to Adam Stern. And I mean, I made a video on it, maybe a month ago now. Where FedEx is just not hitting their Q2 earnings that they thought they were going to hit. So it'll be interesting to see if they come back, and if they do come back, will it be for a full season? My prediction would be they come back for less than a full season, but I do think they will come back because recently you've actually seen some FedEx commercials with Denny Hamlin in them. So I don't think that they're going to necessarily hop off the NASCAR train just because they didn't hit their Q2 earnings. And just to be very clear, they're still making money. They haven't lost money, but they said the Q2 earnings, they didn't hit them. And they said forecasted demand is not also projected to be really good. So whatever you guys want to talk about down in the chat, I will get to the chat right now to see what's going on. TJ Moorshed said, yellow. What's up, TJ Moorshed? Good to see you on here. Charlotte Ander, what's going on? Test. Yep, it is working. Mark Barnum, what's going on? He also said, Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all you guys. Of course, I won't be streaming Sunday. I don't feel like it's a good idea to stream on Christmas. So this will be the stream for this week. We will not have one Sunday because that, of course, is Christmas, and Saturday would be Christmas Eve. That would be the other time I would do it. So I don't think it's a good idea to do that. So I won't be having a live stream this Sunday. So this will be the one. So this will be the last time I actually get to see you guys live. So until after Christmas. So happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. But definitely Merry Christmas because the 25th is Christmas. So let's see. Charlotte Anders says, say it. Robin Mark says, howdy from Canada. Take off, you hose heads. Oh, there you go. A little Canadian slang from the Great White North, or up north. What's it called up there? The Great White North, the Great North. We the North. Is that what the Raptors say? We the North. The Toronto Raptors. We the North, right? So Robin Marks, what's up, Canada? Josh says, what's up from South Texas? Just came from David Gravel Live with Rico Abreu. That's pretty cool. Rico just signed a deal. If I'm not, something happened with Rico. I saw him sort of in the headlines. He did something. Did he just sign with a new team or something? But there was some Rico Abreu news. I casually follow dirt, and I like dirt. I'm just not an expert on it by any stretch of the imagination. So, but he's definitely one of my favorite drivers over there. He gets it done. Bo Darville, the bandit, what's up, man? I thought I was a half hour late. Nah, we started at 8:30 today. I sort of got a little tied up doing some other things today, so I started it just a bit later than normal. Philip Canavan, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing good. Paul Sayers says, I'd like to see UPS come and sponsor a team, just like they did with Dale Jarrett. So that's actually a really good point. I would love to see not only UPS, but let's talk about UPS for a second here. I would love to see UPS come back into the sport and also have, the UPS car, even if it's just for like 5 or 6 races, right? You can still build a marketing campaign off of 5 or 6 races, which I think is what FedEx is going to do. I think FedEx is going to stay with JGR. I just don't think they're going to do the full season like they've been doing. That's just my prediction. I don't know anything, insider information or anything like that. But I would love to see that, because if you remember back in the day, some of the absolute best NASCAR commercials of all time were "We want to race the truck, everybody loves the truck." With Dale Jarrett, that number 88 UPS Ford for Robert Yates was absolutely iconic. Everything, even down to the paint scheme, even that number 6 for David Reagan was pretty good. I wasn't a big fan of the paint scheme of the 44 when he went over to Michael Waltrip Racing, but all the other paint schemes other than that were pretty good for the UPS car. So that would be cool, and you would have some natural built-in competition, sort of with FedEx there, because FedEx always has pretty good paint schemes. I can't even remember an actual honest to God bad FedEx paint scheme. Some have been better than others, but I can't remember one that was actually terribly bad. But definitely, just for the commercials alone, I would love to see UPS come back and get into the sport. Also, since Mars Milky Way has gone, I would love to see Hershey's. Hershey's has a history with RCR. I would love to see Hershey's come back and announce a sponsorship deal with like Reese Cups or something to be on that number 8 for Kyle Busch. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. It would be a good way to take a jab at Mars, Milky Way, or M&M's, or whatever you want to call it. So I would love to see Hershey's come back as well. So those are 2 sponsors I would love to see come back. I think it would be a really, really cool deal. Charlie Palmer says, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Charlie. Let's see. Supreme Baller, what's up? Fire says Supreme Baller. What's up, man? I'm glad to have you on here today. Robin Mark says, no Christmas stream. What a Grinch. Yeah, I mean, I would do a Christmas stream, but like, I don't know. I don't want to mess with, I don't want people watching me when they should be spending time with their family or whatever. And I know you were joking there, but that's actually the reasoning behind that one. I will not pay to stream NASCAR. LOL, says one wise guy. I don't blame you, man. Like, here's the deal. Like, most of us or a lot of us are either already paying for cable or satellite, or you have already set up the subscriptions. You've cut the cord and you already have the subscriptions set up that you want to watch. You shouldn't have to add another subscription just to watch 3 or 4 races. So if NASCAR does put it on a streaming service, I would hope that NASCAR made that free to everybody, because it just doesn't make any sense. I don't see people going and buying. And by the way, Peacock had the worst rollout of any streaming service I've ever seen. That's my other issue with it. So even if it was on a streaming service, I wouldn't want it to be on Peacock. But they should make the streaming, the 3 or 4 races should at least be streamed for free, because people are already paying for cable or satellite, or they have cut cable and satellite and they're already paying for the streaming services they want to see. Nobody wants to feel like they've been forced to buy Peacock for 2 or 3 months just so they can watch 1 or 2 races or 3 or 4 races. I just don't see that being a win for NASCAR any way, shape, or form, no doubt about it. One wise guy says, Merry Christmas, everybody. So once again, Merry Christmas to everybody. This will be, of course, if you missed it, this will be the last time I stream before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you. Mark Langman says, the land of the frozen chosen is checking in. So there you go, the land of the frozen chosen. That's what's up. Let's see. Mark Langren also says, presently it is 10. Oh, good grief. Oh, it was like, it wasn't 10 below here, but good God, it was super cold here today. I don't think it made it above like 37, which is super cold for the South. I know you're sitting at 10 below. You're like, man, that's a heat wave over there. But yeah, 37 for the South. That's a bad day. That was the high, by the way. So it's gotten even colder. Really appreciating the heat on days like this. Mark Barnum says, Tony Stewart having $1 million race at Eldora this July. That is going to be an absolute barn burner. I'm super looking forward to that one. I might actually watch that one. I think it's going to be on I think that one's going to be on a float, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to have to hang out with one of my buddies that has Flow Racing on that day and check that one out. If not, I might just get a Flow Racing subscription for a month and check it out. Josh says, with his World of Outlaw not running Bristol, I would think this is the last year for the Bristol dirt race. Yeah, so that is a good point, Josh. Excellent point, actually. So if the World of Outlaws are not going to sort of give you some money basically to justify the cost of that, because that is super expensive to put all that dirt on Bristol and take it off. So without having other series coming in there and sort of splitting up the cost of that particular deal, it's not looking really good for Bristol dirt going forward. That being said, I don't think that's the worst thing that could happen, because I would love to have 2 Bristol races on the concrete pavement like they've got now. But I also think we should keep a dirt race, and now you can actually have a dirt race at a proper dirt track, right? You can now do it the right way. You can have a dirt race at a proper dirt track where they know how to handle all the stuff. They're not bringing all these outside people in and trying to figure out how to do it on Bristol. So I think it's win-win in that particular situation. Even though I know there's some people that love Bristol dirt, but if you want to see Bristol dirt, this is the year you better go watch it, because there's a good chance it might not come back now that they don't have another series to split the cost with. Bring back the Baby Ruth car, says one wise guy. That was a good looking car. And I've actually got the Michael Annett shirt. I can't remember if I bought the diecast, but I definitely have the Michael Annett shirt when he ran the Baby Ruth throwback at Darlington. Let's see here. Don McLeod says, everybody says Haley has the talent. How much? We'll find out. I'm sure with her going to Thor Sport. Yeah, this is definitely going to be the best truck she's ever sat in. So I think Haley going to Thor Sport is definitely, you're going to see what she can do now. Like, as long as she doesn't have a super bunch of bad luck. And let's be honest, last season, if you like her or don't like her, she had a ton of bad luck last season. So it wasn't all her driving last season. But this year, she definitely needs results and no more excuses, even though I just made one. Feel free to call me out on that, but I called myself out. So boom, can't get me. Mark Langren says, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all. Josh said, this is the kind of last chance for Haley Deegan. I don't think it's a last chance, but you're definitely going to see what she's got here in this equipment, because she's in championship level truck equipment. So you would expect her to have better results, and I think she'll have a really good season. I don't think it's anywhere near the last chance. She's still super young. She's still super well funded, so I don't really see it being a last chance or anything like that. But this is her best chance to show what she can do, and she does have to get results. I would agree with that particular statement. T-Van says, what's up, BB? You need to put up that poll I said the other night. Ward Burton and Sterling Marlin need to be in charge of NASCAR. Sterling Marlin, of course, going through some health problems. But let's see. I will throw up a poll. Should a veteran driver, I can't spell, driver run NASCAR? We'll just do it that way and ask the community. All righty, let's see. Where did I leave off here? All right, there we go. Mark Barnum says, Deegan will be around for a few years, no matter how she runs this year. I agree with that. She's well funded, and she just has a lot more going on than just being a driver, right? So she'll be around for a long time, but I think she'll actually have some results. I'm in the camp that thinks she'll get some good results this season, and I don't think it'll be as big of a deal from here on out. I think there will be less talk about it. Charlie Palmer says, Peacock is free with Comcast. However, it's not available in every area. Yes, I don't live close enough to get cable. So I've got satellite, so I can't buy Comcast, so I don't get free Peacock. So it is what it is. But if you've got Comcast, that's a pretty sweet deal you got going on. So you won't miss any of the races at all. If that rumor comes to be true, basically. So good deal for the Comcast gang. Philip Canavan says, I live in the north, and that's about how warm it got today. So yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely wintertime, right? There's no doubt about that. Mike Haywood says, and it really feels like you wake up in the dark and come home in the dark too. So I hate that part of wintertime as well. Going to my first Daytona 500. Any suggestions on a must do when I'm at the track? I would visit. Well, it's going to be super crowded because it's the Daytona 500, but I would visit the Daytona USA Museum. I would go look at the statue. At the very least, go look at the statue in the front of it. Uh, there is you can also go to where they used to have. It's just basically right on the beach, but you can go to where they used to run it. They ran on the beach and then they ran part of it on the road. But there's a super famous restaurant that is there, so you can check out. I can't call the name of the restaurant off the top of my head. If somebody knows the name of that restaurant, drop it down there. And you can also go to the Streamliner or the Streamline Hotel, which is where they sat down and wrote on a napkin the rules for the original NASCAR. Those are three landmarks I would definitely hit. And they also have a gigantic IMAX that's in the middle of a golf course. If there's any good movies on IMAX you'd like to watch, that is an excellent IMAX theater. But that being said, that was last time I was in Daytona for an actual race was probably 2006, maybe 2005, 2004, somewhere in there. So it has changed dramatically since then. There is plenty to do, no doubt about it, down there now. 4 degrees Fahrenheit here, not above zero until Saturday, says Mark Barnum. I'm feeling it for you. I hate cold weather. I ain't gonna lie to you about it. Donnie Love says Flow is $140 a year, but they cover a lot of races. Yeah, and if you get Flow TV, it's not just racing. They have a lot of other like programming and stuff like that too. Everybody I know that's got Flow TV, they're super happy with it. That I've talked to as far as race fans go, because they get the Flow TV, regular TV, and then they get basically every dirt race and everything in the world else they want to see. Molten Ray says, "Oh my goodness, YouTube literally delayed my notifications. What the f? What the heck?" Says Molten. They're doing something. Every time they do something on YouTube, I notice that I can see it on my end because certain things will be glitchy and work a little bit different. So they're doing something. They're either changing the algorithm or doing some updates to YouTube itself. So it sort of is what it is. YouTube's going to be wonky probably for a few days until they get everything sorted out. It always goes like that. Robert Mark says everybody should do some history. I watched NASCAR All Out today. The first Daytona, Lee Petty won. Yep. But what's funny is Richard Petty blew up his car because he was immature. Yeah, and Richard Petty's nickname back in the day, back in those days, was Squirrel, Richard Squirrel Petty. So he was the squirrel before he was the king. So he is King Squirrel. That should be like the little icon they got for Petty. Petty needs a mascot. It should be a squirrel with a Cowboy King hat on or something like that. Old Squirrel Petty. Molten Rage says, I didn't even know you were streaming. Thanks, YouTube. Yep. I can't do anything about that. It stinks and I hate it, but it is what it is. But here we go. We're rolling now. Mark Langren having a problem with the emoji thumbs up. Man, yeah. Like I said, YouTube's got something going on. They're adjusting a few things, I'm sure, behind the scenes, trying to make it better for everybody, I'm sure. But until they get it, until they get the updates and all that sort of figured out and smoothed out, usually like once a month or once every other month or something, they'll do something to tweak the algorithm or do something to try to make YouTube different or better. And you get these little blips in the radar like this. T-Van says, I want to see Elliott Sadler run in the SRX series. That would be cool. I don't think Elliott Sadler would be uninterested in it, but last I heard from Elliott Sadler, he's super into taking his kids to softball and all kinds of stuff like that. So he's enjoying his time being a dad. So I don't know that he's 100% ready to come back and race in SRX, with the one exception being I could see him maybe pulling a South Boston because it's super close to him. So if the SRX comes back to South Boston, I think that you might have a chance of seeing Elliott Sadler run a race there. Bo Darville says, is there a chance we're seeing the decline of JGR? Well, everything goes in cycles, right? Even Hendrick for a few years had a rough run of things when Chevrolet first came back with the Camaro. So it all ebbs and flows and goes in cycles. I think, well, let's just look at what Joe Gibbs has going forward. They've got some good young talent. Christopher Bell is super good. Ty Gibbs has shown a lot of potential. He won a bunch of races. You've got Martin Truex as the veteran. So you've got a good, and you've got Denny Hamlin as a veteran. Both of those guys have won a bunch of races. Denny Hamlin is the best driver in the series right now that hasn't won a championship. Martin Truex has won a championship. He's always consistent. He's always good. You know what you're getting from those two. And then you've got two young guys that you can build around. So for this year, I feel like they'll be okay, but it's going to be interesting going forward who they put in those other cars when a Truex retires, when a Denny Hamlin retires, and of course, with losing a big sponsor like M&M's, and then when Martin Truex retires, you're probably gonna lose the Bass Pro Shop sponsorship. And what FedEx is going to do if FedEx comes back full time, what's FedEx's business model going to be? There are a lot of things, a lot of pieces in motion over there at Joe Gibbs Racing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that shakes out. Of course, Joe Gibbs Racing is the biggest Toyota team right now, so you would think that they would be backed. However, things can change pretty quickly in the sport of NASCAR. If Toyota decides to sort of go with 2311 and make that their premier team, it could be a situation where you see they'll just struggle. We saw it in the late 90s when Chevrolet, General Motors went and basically, in my opinion, can't prove it, but they started leaning more toward Hendrick, and they went more with Hendrick, and you saw RCR start to get less and less significant tech parts being parts that General Motors only had one or two of, and instead of giving them to RCR because Dale Earnhardt was there, they would give them to Rick Hendrick because Rick Hendrick had the better Chevrolet driver at that time, and Jeff Gordon when Dale Earnhardt left us. So it could be a situation like that. So there's all kinds of moving pieces on that particular deal that you can watch and look for. Definitely going to be very interesting going forward. Philip Canavan says Molten Rage YouTube always delays sending notifications if they send them at all. So that's been a common thing. I'm not going to be one of those YouTubers that gets on here and complains about YouTube sending this, that, and the other thing. It just is what it is. It's something you got to work through. I'm not big on complaining as far as stuff like that goes. I'm more or less, I'm just going to do my best and work around it. But basically every Tuesday, there's going to be a live stream. So every Tuesday night, just look for the live stream. Even if you don't get a notification for it, sorry, it has to be like that, but that's just the way it is. And then Sundays are going to be hit or miss. And this Sunday, we won't have one, obviously, because it is Christmas. People should be spending time with their family, not listening to me run my mouth on Christmas. All right, CPO, fast forward. A streaming problem outside the USA is if NASCAR provider TSN in Canada links with USA provider, we get all the Xfinity and Cup, but no truck races as TSN doesn't work with USA broadcaster. So that is that is a very good point. That's also a big deal. We don't think about that much down here because we don't understand. Obviously, there's no way we could understand how Canadian TV works. But TSN is basically like, I guess, the ESPN of Canada. And they do different deals with different people, just like ESPN does their deal with Sky Sports to get the F1 races. And if TSN doesn't work with certain people in NASCAR, you won't get, you'll get some of the NASCAR races, but you won't get the truck races, which is a big bummer because the fans in Canada are super great. They're great fans. They're really loyal. They really are knowledgeable about what they're watching. And they've got their own great series. And just so you know, we don't get the Pinty series down here. A lot of people would love to see the Penny series. Obviously, you can watch it on YouTube. They've got their own YouTube channel. You can check that out. Same thing with NASCAR, Euro NASCAR. You can watch that. They've got a YouTube channel. But sometimes it's just stuff like that. So the one good thing in all this is, even though you can't see it live, at least you can watch it on YouTube. It stinks for Canada that they might not be able to see the truck races, but you can at least see the truck races, 1 or 2 days later on the NASCAR YouTube channel. They do show you the full race after the fact. So it's not too bad there on that particular deal. And let's see, Mark Langer says, don't forget your merch. Let me see if I got it pulled up. Uh-oh, this might crash the stream. Nope, I don't have it pulled up. So we'll have to do another day. But I will do the merch another day. I do have, if somebody's got the link to the Teespring shop or whatever, just let me know down there. But we'll have to get that on another day because I can't find it right here. I need to put it on I just need to put it on a Word document or whatever, and I just cut and paste it. But let's see. Technically, they kind of do. I appreciate it, Mark Langren. I'm just once again, I always forget about the merchandise. I'm the worst salesman of all time. If you want to sponsor the show, sign up here because I just called myself the worst salesman of all time. Molten Ray says technically they kind of do. Ben Kennedy is a veteran, and he has been running NASCAR for the most part. Not sure what you're talking about there. I do think Ben Kennedy is a solid choice. Hopefully, he'll continue to run NASCAR in the right direction. But if you say he's been running NASCAR, you can't say he's been running it well because they made some questionable decisions. Ben Kennedy, of course, the driving force, one of the driving forces behind NASCAR going to Chicago and racing in the streets. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That seems to be his big thing. He's hanging his hat on. So we're gonna have to see how Chicago goes, and that's gonna tell you about the Ben Kennedy era if there is one. Supreme Baller says hello from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Myrtle Beach, man, the Myrtle Beach Pelicans / Mermen. That's a great baseball stadium down there. If you ever minor league stadium, if you ever get a chance to go, check them out. If you like minor league baseball, they sort of got it set up like a miniature Wrigley Field, but it's also where they used to shoot Eastbound and Down, the HBO show with Kenny Powers as the pitcher there, who's coming up through the minor leagues trying to be a major leaguer again. Pretty funny show, not for kids, I will say that, but a great show. And they do sell Mermen, or at least last time I went, they sold Mermen jerseys and stuff like that. So it's just a great fan experience if you like baseball. Even if you don't like baseball, it's still a great experience. Mark Langren says a number of startup teams used past champions to get their start. Yeah, that's a fair point. You could always count on older driver going to a new team, and I don't think that's any different for any startups now. I think some of them need to sign some veteran drivers to get some sponsorship money in there, and also pull in a second car and put another driver in there. That's actually what I would like to see Spire do. Well, Spire's not going to do it now because they've already signed Ty Dillon, and they also had Corey LaJoie, but I would have loved to have seen Spire pull in a veteran driver and then have a young driver, in this case, Corey LaJoie, learn right beside him. I've always thought that's the best model for a new startup team. Even when Joe Gibbs started up, he got sort of a veteran in Dale Jarrett, over there racing for Wood Brothers and a whole bunch of other people before he got over to the number 18 to Joe Gibbs Racing. So they started with Dale Jarrett. The other team, of course, that was a startup team that used Dale Jarrett to start him up was Michael Waltrip Racing in the 44. So Dale Jarrett started up two teams. Fun fact about Dale Jarrett. Philip Kinnavan says maybe Dale Jr. can get everybody Peacock for free since Comcast sponsors the show. That would be a pretty cool deal. And that's something that if he put his mind to it, I'm sure he could make that happen. Mark Langer says IndyCar did it for one race last year, worst watched race of the year. So hopefully they look at those IndyCar numbers. Appreciate that, Mark. Hopefully they look at those IndyCar numbers from that race that they tried that with, and don't do that again, at least for NASCAR, because I just don't see it working out. Nobody wants to buy an extra subscription just to watch 3 or 4 races. It just feels like a money grab for the Peacock, and nobody's going to feel good about it. Even the people that do it, they're not going to feel good about the Peacock that they were forced. I can't say what I was thinking in my head. They're not going to feel good about the Peacock channel that they were forced to watch. We'll put it that way. I definitely wasn't going to say forced down their throat at all. Visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Daytona Stadium. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a good. That's what I was talking about when I mentioned the museum. That's definitely something you need to check out. Molten Rage sounding like a Florida veteran. Are you a Florida man, Molten? Molten, you might be a Florida man. You sound like a Florida man, dude. One wise guy said they should run a veteran IROC series. Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That's sort of what the SRX is in a way, but definitely I would be all about that. I think if they expanded the SRX cars to maybe 2 or 3 more cars, I think they would really have something with the SRX there, and just get some more veterans in there. I think it would be really, really cool. Say Kyle Not Cal says restaurant is racing's first turn at Ponce Inlet. So that is exactly what I'm talking about. I remember Ponce Inlet, but I couldn't remember the name of it. I appreciate it. Say Kyle Not Cal. Yeah. So I can't remember whose first race was going to be the Daytona 5, their first Daytona 500, but definitely check that out. Racing's first turn at Ponce Inlet. It is where basically turn 1 used to be when they raced on dirt and then got on the road. It's really cool, and you can sort of see where the track used to be. Obviously, you won't see any turns or anything like that, but they've got some pretty cool stuff down there. So definitely check that out. In fact, when I go down to Daytona, that's one of the things I'm going to include in the vlog. And yes, I know I've got 12 vlogs I need to get on and work on anyway, but we'll add another one to the list. I have secured tickets to the 24 Hours of Daytona, so I will be going to the 24 Hours of Daytona. Just in case anybody's going to be down there, I will be there. Stay tuned. We'll have some more details about that later. Dale Jr. Should run NASCAR. He's had a passion for the sport that no one in charge currently has. He also has a know-how, and you got to understand it from both sides. That's one thing I will say about Ben Kennedy. He did drive in the truck series, so he does understand it from both sides. So yeah, him and Junior would be uniquely qualified. The poll is a runaway, so I'm going to go ahead and end it right there. I have a cousin that lives in the condos in the north end where the track used to be, says Philip. So there you go. Part of the track is covered by some condos and stuff now. So you can't see as much of it as you once could. Oh, you can also drive on the beach. South Dude, I forgot about that. So yeah, if you're so inclined and feel like it, you can drive on the beach. Be careful though, because every year at spring break in Daytona, you see tons of people getting stuck in their car on the beach. So use your best judgment on that deal as to where you should drive on the beach. Jeff Gordon should be the NASCAR commissioner, says Supreme Baller. That would be, I feel like too many people would melt down about that because he's basically the guy running Hendrick. And a lot of people feel like Hendrick runs NASCAR anyways. There would be a ton of people melting down about that. So I'm not for it or against it, but if it did happen, I would be here for the drama because so many people would be upset. Anthony Auto Club Speedway says it snowed, hailed in Southern California, Los Angeles near Huntington Beach. To be exact, also about 6.4 magnitude earthquake in Northern California near San Francisco. Man, so it's going crazy up there on the West Coast. I tell you what, man, dude, when I drove to Phoenix, I got like a unique West Coast experience because I got snow and rain when I was in Phoenix. And those are two things that do not happen very often on that particular part of the West Coast. So I thought that was pretty cool, but it's pretty crazy that y'all got snow and hail in Southern California, and then in Northern California, they're having earthquakes. That's pretty wild, man. I hope everybody's safe. But that's pretty wild that you're getting all kinds of crazy weather. Even though the weather itself, the temperature-wise, is nice. I hate it that you're having to deal. Well, I guess it's not nice if it's hailing and whatever, but you know, California, good mild weather is normally what it's known for. I hate that you're having to deal with weather because a lot of people move there for the basically perfect weather. Robin Marks, you don't know cold until you have to fix an ice auger on a frozen lake while ice fishing near Winnipeg, Canada. Go Jets. What is it? The Winnipeg Jets? Yeah. You can fix the stuff with gloves on. Oh man, I can't even imagine. Ice fishing sounds really cool. Not as cool as ice racing, but definitely ice fishing is definitely on my list of things to do. Racing's north turn. Sorry, not first turn. Okay, I remember something, but I think it is turn one. I think it is over in the middle of turn 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be totally wrong about that. I just remember going, and it's been over, well, not quite over a decade ago, but it's getting to be decade territory since I've been. But like I said, I got 24 Hours of Daytona tickets on the way, so we will be making the trip again, and by we I mean me, by myself again. But I will have some friends down there, so I'm just going to be driving by myself again. So it is what it is. Let's see. You can't fix it with gloves on. I got you, Robin Marks. I got you. Brandon Brown will take Daytona. LGB says Supreme Baller. So hopefully Brandon Brown has a ride, man. It's going to be a super bummer if that dude lost a ride because of some nonsense. Hopefully he gets everything figured out over there. I learned something every day. I didn't know that about the King, says Mark Langren. Yep. He used to be called the Squirrel before he was the King. You can look up some of his old pictures. It's got where the name would be, like how they used to have the name on the door instead of the roof. It says Squirrel. So pull up some older pictures of Richard Petty. If I find one, I'll stick it on the community page or whatever. Squirrel Petty. They're not shabby at the plate tracks, says Supreme Baller. Yeah, they're pretty good there for sure. Let's see. Daytona is better at the track than on TV. Daytona racing is not the best. It's enjoyable, but not the best at the track. It's phenomenal. I was there on August for the 400. It was amazing in person. All right, so Moulton is a Florida man. That's what's up. I think not 100. We don't have confirmation yet, but Yeah, I would say any race in person is better because you can throw on the scanner. And I mean, I know you can listen to it at home too, but it's just totally different. Like you throw the scanner on, you can either put it on MRN or you can put it on your favorite driver. And you can just sit back and focus on what you want to focus on. You don't have to focus on what the TV cameras are focusing on and what they're talking about. So yeah, anytime you can attend any race in person, it's always better in person. Even that Martinsville race that everybody complained about, I was there in person, and I was like, it wasn't that bad here, but I'm gonna have to be fair because I'm sure everybody that watched it on TV probably didn't love it as much as I did. Robin Marks, we will have 40 wind chill here Thursday. Oh, minus 40 wind chill here on Thursday. Golly, man, that stinks. I hate it. I'm not used to that at all. I don't know how I deal with it other than to just bundle up. Mark Langren, it's a great place for IMSA, a race, the 24 hours in a motorhome. But they teach sports car people like that. But they teach sports car people like they treat sports car people like crap. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I got it. I got you. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you're talking about like the people running the track or whatever. I hate to hear that. But I like this will be my first ever in-person 24 hours of Daytona. So I hope that's not the case. I've watched some other IMSA races at VIR, so hopefully that was a great experience. So hopefully it's like that experience. It's really been a pain in the butt to get like a parking pass though, like for my the car I'm going to take down there. Basically, it's not an RV, but I can do the overnight camping. It's been an absolute pain in the butt. I guess the stuff for that's not on sale yet. That's been a little bit of a bummer. So we'll have to get that in because there's nothing online where you can really do it. Every time it gets you to a broken link. Anyway, I take Gibbs and Bell over Bubba and Reddick, says Supreme Baller. That's interesting. So I would take, in that particular situation, I would take Reddick and Bell. Like if you could just pick a super team, I would take Reddick and Bell. And then I feel like Gibbs and Bubba, they're sort of still coming into their own. Now Bubba Wallace did run a lot better last year than he's ever run before. But as far as that goes, I would take Reddick and Bell as my two-tier team. But if I had to pick between the Gibbs and Bell combo or the Reddick and Bubba combo, that's a tough one. I would have to lean toward Christopher Bell on that deal because although Tyler Reddick is super exciting to watch, that's a good question. That's a poll question right there. Although Tyler Reddick is exciting to watch and he does crazy stuff, I do think that Christopher Bell is a better driver because he's more consistent. He doesn't wreck as much, even though he might not get as many wins. So I don't know. That's a tough one, but I would take. I'm actually with you on that one. Surprisingly, I've never thought about this question, but I'm actually with you on that one. But as far as Ty Gibbs and Bubba Wallace go, I feel that's scratch right there. So let's see. I've lost my spot, so I'm just going to start. I'm just going to start right here below the last poll. Oh, nope. Here we go. Looking for my spot. This is very fascinating. I know. All right, I can't find it. I'm just going to start right here. Jonathan W. If I missed your question, just send it again. Jonathan W. says, I wish NASCAR would sell the rights to the streaming to Flow Racing, and then we would have. I do too, man, 100%. Then we would have races streamed no matter what, if it's on Fox or NBC, since Flow Racing is impartial to those two. I would agree with that 100%. So yeah. I would love to see that. How about running GT3 cars? I would love to see some GT3 cars. That would be totally awesome. I think they do run the GT3 cars down at Daytona. I don't know if they run them for the 24 hours, but I think they run them in the other Daytona race, maybe at Sebring. Maybe Sebring has the GT3 cars. I'm not 100%. Robin Marks says, once I was so cold, my eyelashes would freeze shut. I survived the blizzard in 77. I never had my eyelashes freeze shut, but when I went to Appalachian State, I did walk out with wet hair one day, and my hair definitely froze to the hat I was wearing. So I have experienced that. So I have been in some cold weather, just not quite that negative of cold weather that you guys dealing with. The wind is actually the worst thing. I can deal with the cold weather, but when the wind starts cutting through you, there's always one section of your insulated thermal stuff that has just got a crack in it or something, and the wind just keeps hitting, getting through that one spot, and it's just, it's terrible. Dennis Gillespie says, "Aloha, my brother from another mother. Just don't need to go back to the beginning." Right, I understand. What's up, Hawaii? By the way, Dennis Gillespie, of course, from Hawaii. That was supposed to say, "I just jumped in. Sorry, I'm going back to the beginning." All right, Dennis is going back and checking the very beginning of the show. Good to have you on as always, Dennis. CPO Fast Forward says Pinty's running a support race at Loudon or Michigan would be awesome. I agree with you. That's one series that NASCAR needs to promote. They don't promote it nearly well enough, in my opinion. So I would love to see that. There's a reason why they call Daytona the World Center of Racing, because on TV it's fun and enjoyable, but at the track it's the World Center of Racing. It's the GOAT of an on-track experience for me, says Moulton. Yeah, it's definitely a heck of an experience. Like I said, I haven't been recently, so I can't compare it to other tracks. But I've been to Daytona 2 or 3 times, and every time I've been to Daytona for a race, it's always been a great experience. I remember I've been for it was a Busch Series back then, but I went for a Busch Series race, and that was really good. And I also went for the Firecracker 400 that Greg Biffle won on gas mileage, and I went to the one the very next year where Jeff Gordon won, when they had like a whole bunch of Coca-Cola Zero or C2. It was Coca-Cola C2, half the calories, and Jeff Gordon won in the Pepsi car. So I went the next year too. So let's see. Supreme Baller, South Carolina, home of Cale Yarborough, home of the most underrated GOAT, Cale Yarborough. Cale Yarborough is awesome. Cale Yarborough is the man. Used a porta power to push the front shock towers out slightly, and then used an angle iron for a front strut bar. That's how it's done, my friend. That is homemade hot rodding. Mark Langren there with that comment, and there's nothing wrong with homemade hot rodding. 3F Racing most likely having Justin Allgaier as their driver, if the rumors are true. I hope the rumors are true, which makes sense because he's a decent, good startup driver. Justin Allgaier is good for stuff like that, to be honest. I agree with you. He's a good, solid driver, period, no matter what he's in. And hopefully they can give him some equipment to run there. I know 3F is just getting started, but hopefully they get a good setup underneath of him from somebody else. Mark Langer says, in the rear, we had a problem with shocks breaking loose and used angle iron and tie to let the right set as an additional top shock mount. So there you go. We're getting. I don't know what we're setting up. I missed something there, but we're getting a secret setup here for something. Mark Langren says, and I'm sure you talked about it way up here. I just, like I said, I skipped down and lost my spot. Terry Labonte did a number of Daytona 500s that way. Says Mark Langren as a startup team is what he's talking about. Yeah, he drove that like extra 44 car for a few races. Terry Labonte, he was one of my favorites too. He was definitely the man. I love that yellow Kellogg's car. That thing was awesome. Then they went to the orange Tiger looking car. And also the Sunoco cars, they were sneaky good too. The Sunoco cars he had were sneaky good. But by far the best car he ever had was the Junior Johnson Bud car. That thing looked great. It never really had a bad paint job, I should say. Philip Canavan says, it's a proven fact that viewership goes down when they put the sport on a designated channel. I agree. They just need to leave it on regular TV. It always gets good ratings. I don't know why they keep fooling around with it. They just need to leave it be and then add a streaming option to that. Like, it's always going to be on regular network TV, and then just add a streaming option. I don't know what's so hard to understand about that. Claude Aviles says, I think FedEx is going to bail on JGR and Denny Hamlin. I mean, they very well could. They're not having the best of times. We've seen like the counter argument to that I saw a ton of people make in the comments when I released that video the first time I released it. I'm probably gonna have to make another one on it, so get ready for the rehash of it. But the counter argument to that is, back in the day when they had Frederick Smith as the CEO. Even when they had economic downturns, they always stayed in NASCAR. So that was the big deal down there back in the day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, because now, like I said, they have a new CEO, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They also have a new person in charge of marketing, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But like I was saying, the new person in charge of marketing, they already have a Denny Hamlin FedEx commercial out, and that's the first time I've seen a Denny Hamlin FedEx commercial since the mid 2000s. So it feels like they are putting importance on NASCAR. So I don't know that they'll back all the way out, but it would surprise me to see them do a full season the way they have been doing a full season. No doubt about it, for sure. Camaro 50, thanks for the super chat, man. He says Merry Christmas to all, and I would like to reiterate that, because I will not be doing the live stream Sunday, because Sunday is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody. And Camaro, man, appreciate the super chat, dude. Super nice. Thank you for that. Let's see. Aaron Flynn says, we do need practice for the twins in the Daytona this year, already on the other side of the pay window for Peacock. Oh, man, that stinks. That stinks. Yeah. So, yeah, they definitely need practice, and that's something. I think I made a video on that, or we live streamed about it. It's been a crazy week. I'm not all together here, but they definitely need to have a practice. I did make a video on this. We definitely need to have practice before the Daytona 500, because you don't want to tear up a bunch of stuff. You've got a bunch of guys that have never drafted before, and they need practice drafting. And even the guys that are coming back that have driven NASCAR before, that have experience drafting, Jimmy Johnson has never raced this car in the draft. So we need, before the twin 120 or the twin races, the twin 125, you want to call them, we need practice before them for sure. Pluck the bird, hell no to Peacock, says William Wagaman. I think that's how most people feel. You shouldn't feel like you're forced to get a streaming service, and that's what this feels like. It feels like you're being held up and being forced to get a streaming service, and that stinks. That's not going to gain you any goodwill with fans. So NASCAR tried that in the 80s with a pay-per-view event at Pocono. It did not work out. I know. I taped all the races for over 30 years. I was pissed about that, says Stephen D'Amelio Jr. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't remember that, but I remember back in the day when the races were on cable, my uncle would tape them for us. And that there was, I vaguely remember there being one race we couldn't watch because it was on pay-per-view. I just remember like the adults in the room talking about pay-per-view. And my dad and all them didn't watch fights or anything like that. So that had to be what they were talking about when they were talking about pay-per-view back in the day. So this isn't the first time it's been tried. So they'll probably try it. I'm not going to lie to you. They'll probably try it. It will probably fail miserably. And they will probably leave it alone and try to figure out a different way to do it, the proper, better way that has already been mentioned, to just stream it for free and make a simulcast with the actual live broadcast on the regular TV network. Say Kyle Not Cal says, I haven't been since the storm, but there is a high probability since the Hurricane Ian, you most likely won't recognize any track. Oh, man. There you go. Since Hurricane Ian, you probably will not see any of the old remaining track at all, because it gave it a good bashing over there on the Daytona side, apparently where it used to be. So that's unfortunate, but at least the restaurant is still there to mark where, where that area was on the track, so you can sort of do it from there. And if I don't know if they still have it, but they had some monuments and stuff up the last time I went to denote where you were at and what you were looking at certain spots. Mark Langren says, support the Porsche at the 24 hours, not this year, but it looks like we will have a historic Porsche down there next year. Yeah, I'm super pumped up about that. They used to call them Daytona prototypes, but now I don't know. I guess it's one car, and you can run the Daytona, the 24 hours of Daytona. You can also run Le Mans. In the prototype division, it's a car that transfers over to FIA specs, and it also matches IMSA specs. So I'm actually pretty pumped up about that. I want to see how that goes in the future. Of course, they will put some races on Peacock. Just look at how well FS1 and NBCSN have done. If you're trying to kill a sport, those were a home run, says Bo Darville. Good point, Bo Darville. The Bandit with another good point. People didn't want to be forced to watch cable. buy a cable subscription, so that ratings have been hurt when they put them on those channels. So they're going to hurt ratings even more by trying to force you onto a streaming service or streaming network. William Wagaman says the only truck driving Ben Kennedy ever did was pulling on the trailer for the portable outhouses. No, he was out there. He made the field, and he did complete some laps. So he was racing, not for the win, but he was racing. Mark Wachowski, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you got a car and you're not capable of winning, who cares? You're still out there and you're driving a race car. What Cup driver will compete in 2023, 24 hours? Say that real fast. What Cup driver will compete in the 2023 24 hours of Daytona? So far, I don't know. I think Austin Cindric is racing. He's racing something. I forgot what Austin Cindric is racing. Maybe a BMW. I think Austin Cindric's racing a BMW. But off the top of my head, he's the only one I can remember. I will do a 24 hours of Daytona preview, though. Fear not. We'll get all that in order. Back in the early 2000s, I had to go from Phoenix to Flagstaff to pick up my load. And on the way to Flagstaff, it was snowing. So, yeah, I was in daggum, I can't remember, the Tanto National Forest or whatever. So I was in Tanto, and when the snow started coming down, sort of taking the scenic route into Phoenix or into actually, I was going to Avondale, I guess. But anyway, so I guess I had to go through Phoenix. I don't know. It's been a while back now. So anyway, I was taking the scenic route, but I was basically in the twistiest, most mountainous part to be in bad weather. So I was like, man, this is really a good way to be broken back into the West Coast after about a decade from being out here. So it was interesting. But yeah, for sure, they definitely do get some snow up there from time to time. It's just not something you expect. It was 90. It was 90 in Phoenix at that day or whatever. Rich L says, "What's up, y'all? What's up, Rich L? Good to have you on here playing goalie, brother. Always good when Rich is on the stream." Mark Langren says, "We changed both front tires, couldn't afford new tires, added 10 gallons of fuel. I did a driver change in under 20 seconds on the ice." Oh, ice racing. There you go. That's awesome, man. I love ice racing. I want to go at least see it one time. I'd really like to participate. Mark Barnum says, "One driver we have not heard of, if he has a ride yet, is Derek Kraus." Yeah, so Derek Kraus is sort of in the wind. We don't know if he's going to – we definitely know he's not back with the 49, but he's in the wind. We don't know if he's going to be racing or not next season. If you want to vote on the poll, who's the better combo, Gibbs or Bell or Reddick and Bubba? Get your votes in now. Currently, right now, we're at about 60-something, maybe 62% for Gibbs and Bell. So if you want to get your votes in, get those in on the poll. Dennis Gillespie says, "Okay, I couldn't stand it. I had to stay in right away. Scanners are great. I remember when we used to listen to the race on AM radio on Sundays. It was awesome." Yeah, scanners are the bomb. That's one of the best things about racing is the scanner. I live near Texas. Jonathan W. says, "I live near Texas Motor Speedway. Every race is better in person, LOL. No doubt about that, brother. Especially if you're watching some of those Texas races that haven't been great, for sure." Good comment there, man. Appreciate it. Daryl Adams says, "No stream on Sunday." Okay, it's Sunday, but it's the 25th Sunday of his birth. All good. Yeah, I just I don't want to be the guy that takes away family time. Because a lot of times these are people you only see once or twice a year. So I don't want to take away time that you should be spending with those people that you're only going to see once or twice every year. With me running my mouth about racing, we'll do a double stream or a triple stream the next week after Christmas. So we'll get it in that way. I won't short you a stream on that, but I'm definitely not going to have one on Christmas Eve, and I'm definitely not going to have one on Christmas because I don't want anybody else's mom yelling at me, just mine. Mark Barnum says, "I mute the broadcast on NBC. I can't stand listening to Burton." That's how a lot of people feel, especially after he went in on Ross Chastain last year. Ross Chastain gained a lot of fans last year, and they didn't appreciate what they felt like, and also felt like myself, was sort of biased commentating from Jeff Burton. For whatever reason, Ross Chastain triggered him, and he went anti-watermelon man for a long time, and I didn't care for it. Even though I don't really have a problem with Jeff Burton, I just didn't like that aspect of his commentary. Anyways, Mark Witkowski says 24 Hours of Daytona is a great test of man machine, over 4,000 shifts, turns, really good show, and the people are cool. Been down there many times. No doubt about it. I'm really looking forward to this one myself. I think it's going to be thebomb.com. Mark Langer says, if you get a chance to go to Sebring, I do want to go to Sebring. The weekend before, the WEC has their test weekend, and they both race the following weekend. So a lot of people go to Sebring to sort, because it's a really rough track, rough surface, and it's the best simulation to Le Mans. So they go down there to sort of shake out their Le Mans car and see if it's going to hold up to the stresses of Sebring, because Le Mans itself is a stressful and rigorous track. Rich L says, BB, are you running your yugo in the 24-hour race? LOL. Not this one, but I'll tell you what, when we get that project done, I'll go ahead and tell you, we're going to make it a car. We're going to make it a car that you can drive on the road and also race. But after we accomplish that goal of doing that, I tell you what, we will look and see if we can turn it into a champ car. And I know the champ cars do have a race, an endurance race down there at Daytona. I think it's 12 hours. So it will be 2 6-hour races, if I'm not mistaken. So if we get that far along, we will take the old Fiat 500L down there and with the yugo badge, and we will do some endurance racing with it, because I think that would be a cool test of it. But we'll get into all that. Got to get the 10K. Got to get the 10K before we do that. Molten Raid says, Todd Gillen, I hope has a really good year next year, because he had a decent year in the 38, actually the best since David Reagan in the 38. But I hope to see some improvement. I think he has the talent. The only thing he really needs to improve on is finishing races, because when he finished races, he had good finishes. And I know it wasn't all his fault by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got to finish more races, tear up less equipment. And if he finishes more races and doesn't tear up equipment, I think he'll have a much better year than he had last year, because he definitely, when he finished races last year, he had good finishes. Mark Barnum says, insane what they get for infield camping at races. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Mark Langer says, do the overnight if you can. Walk the garages at 1 a.m. Oh, I got the full package. And I'm really contemplating adding a taste of the 24 Hours of Daytona, because then for like $60, I get food for, what is it, 2 or 3 days? Basically $60 for 3 days worth of food. Yeah, it's seeming like a pretty good deal. So I might opt for that too. So you might see my fat tail at the eating gallery or wherever they put all that food for the 24 hours, the taste of 24 hours or whatever. Sorry, any driver with Gibbs is a no-show. I can't stand Gibbs. Would not want to be his teammate. It's tough enough to finish and win. You don't need a teammate taking you out. Yeah, so that was definitely BS what he did to Brandon Brown. And I fully expect Brandon Brown at his next opportunity to give the business to Joe Gibbs Racing, because what – and I know we shouldn't talk bad about him because he's suffering right now, but what he did, and that was before he was suffering, so I have no problem talking about it. What he did right there, and I think he realizes it after the fact, but he still did it. That was absolute BS when he wrecked Brandon Brown for absolutely no reason, because he would have been better off to have a teammate to race against. He won the championship anyway, so it worked out for him, but it was still BS the way it all went down. It took away Brandon Brown's championship hopes without a doubt. Which was BS. Most underrated 90s driver, Johnny Benson for sure, says NASCAR guy. I'm going to say Ward Burton, actually, because if Ward Burton had been in the same equipment that Jeff Burton was in, I think Ward Burton would actually win more races. I think Ward Burton carried that 22 team, because you didn't see anybody else. Maybe Dave Blaney might have got one win, or did his tire fall off in Atlanta? Maybe Dave Blaney, but other than Ward Burton, I can't remember anybody winning in Bill Davis equipment. So I feel like Ward Burton put Bill Davis equipment on his back, and he won races with it when nobody else could really do it, with the exception of maybe Dave Blaney. I can't remember if Dave Blaney won in the Bill Davis car or if his tire fell off and he lost. I remember he dominated one race. I don't remember if he won it or not. And I feel like he won one race. It was either in the Jasper 77 or it was a Bill Davis car. But I can't remember. He won one, I think. I might be mistaken. And one he was going to win, but his tire fell off. Jesse Bichelle says, I miss IROC. I miss IROC too. IROC was one of the greatest series. Even when it got sort of chintzy toward the end, IROC was always a great idea. If they had just left it alone, it would have continued to be a great idea. Mark Langren says, GTD, GTD Pro and GT3 are the cars at IMSA. Okay, so GTD Pro or something like that is going to be the one that can cross over with FIA WEC spec over, and you can race them in Le Mans because it's a project they've been working on for a while. So it's either GTD or GTD Pro. I can't remember. Or GTD prototype. I don't know. It's something. There's something they're doing with it. It has to be Pro because it's something they're doing with the prototypes. Yeah, I don't know, but it's not GTs. Whatever I'm thinking of is the prototype cars. They're doing something where they cross over and you can race Le Mans with the very top class. If I remember reading correctly, I don't know. Stephen D'Amelio Jr. says NASCAR tried a pay-per-view event in the 80s at Pocono. It did not go well. I know because I subscribed. I taped all the races I have for over 30 years. Yep, I think I got that one earlier, but yeah, for sure. I remember they did because I remember it was taped. Is this live or is this Memorex? Glass shatters, Stone Cold comes in the ring and stuns The Rock. I remember that, Rich Hill. Jesse Beal, Memorex, of course, he was referring to when we used to tape the races on VHS back in the day when they were on cable. So I was watching them on like Wednesdays, the race that we had heard on MRN the week before. And if somebody I didn't like won the race, I just didn't watch the race. I have a few of those tapes up there in my closet. If I get a tape player, I could transfer them to digital media, but I don't know. We'll have to see. It was such a pain in the butt, man. I'll tell you what, it took me like 4 or 5 months to get the content off of this for that 2011 lost footage. It took me a right good while to get all the content off of that. So I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do that again, not for a full race. Plus NASCAR, what's that called? There's some channel, Smith TV is one of them, and the other one is NASCAR something. But they've got all the old races for the most part anyway. Jill says SRX is the closest thing to it. I agree, but I would love to see SRX run at least one road course. That would give it the full feel of the old IROC series. So that's what I would like to see in the future for SRX. Add 1 or 2 races, but not many more than that. I think 8 races would be more than sufficient. William Wagaman says ESPN is going to ruin SRX. A lot of people feel that way. What I'm going to be interested to see is, does ESPN do this deal like they do the F1 deal? Are they just going to keep the same broadcast team in place that they already have? Because that broadcast team has done a great job. Because that's what they do with F1 with Sky TV or whatever. So if ESPN takes that approach to it, I think they'll be fine. And ESPN, as far as actually putting on the actual race day show, they're fine with that. It's just how they'll do 1 of 2 things. They will work every political angle they can work, or they will take a topic like they did with Tim Tebow way before they started getting into all this political crap. They'll take a topic like Tim Tebow or Jeremy Lin, and they'll just run it into the ground. Like all we heard about for like a year and a half solid was Tim Tebow. And then we had a run of like 6 months. All we heard about was Linsanity. Then before that, it was nothing about, is Brett Favre going to retire? Is Brett Favre going to come back? Is Brett Favre going to the Vikings? Like that's all we heard in mid 2000s from ESPN. Then they switched it up to where they want to cover sports and politics. And like I said, they just beat stuff into the ground. They just repeat it over and over again. It's a 1-hour show, and you just keep hearing the same stuff over and over again. It's really disappointing because they used to have such a good really honestly such a good show, pre-show and post-show, and now they just get into talking about stuff that has nothing to do with sports. Which, look, I don't care what you believe one way or the other. I could care less. But I don't tune in to sports to hear about politics, because God knows we get plenty of that on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, CNN, Fox News, whatever you watch. I get plenty of that there. I don't need to hear about it on ESPN or FS1 or the Peacock or whatever. It is what it is. Rant over. Not going to talk about that anymore. Anyway, Brett Page says, do you think this will be the year Larson finally gets a super speedway win? Or you can guess, or will guess who will the 6? You think this year? I think Larson might get a super speedway win this year. I don't think it'll be Daytona. I've got Kyle Busch as my Daytona 500 winner, but I do think Kyle does get a super speedway win at some point this season, probably at Talladega. Chrome Diesel says Iceberg uploaded a video today about practice and qualifying needs to be fixed. Just disappointing to see teams having minimal track times and not knowing any issues that they might come across. I agree. I would actually take one of those later practices they got. If you want to get rid of a practice, get rid of one of those later practices and just have that practice moved to in front of the 125s. I think that would make a lot more sense. Mark, you don't like listening. Mark, you don't like listening to the Tasmanian Devil and Yosemite Sam. Hashtag Jeff Burton says Rich L. So yeah, there you go. NBC's coverage, you either like it or you don't. ESPN is going to turn SRX into a clown show, probably, says Supreme Baller. And that's another interesting thing. Like, you got a lot of personalities there. Are they going to try to make them corporate, PC, politically correct entities, or will they not? Supreme Baller says they'll woke it up. So, I mean, it is what it is. They have their political leaning, and that's what they're going to do with it. Like I said, I don't care which way you lean politically. I just don't want to hear about it every 5 minutes. That's more of my issue about it. It doesn't need to be worked into every conversation. I grew up from an era where you talk to people like you were walking into a bar. There's two things you don't talk about when you walk into a bar. That is religion and politics, and that is basically how I do my deal. So I try not to talk about either one of them. Because you're not going to change anybody's mind about either one of them. So there's really no need to talk about it. Everybody makes their own decisions about stuff. Jesse Bichelle says Whelen Modified Tour better than SRX every time. I don't know, man. I like well, if you live up north, I would say that's accurate. But when the modified cars come down here to the tracks down here, they do not put on good shows down here. I will say that as a matter of fact. So I feel like the SRX has put on better shows down here on the southern tracks. There are definitely tracks up north though that the Whelen Modifieds put on much better shows up north. So it would depend on the region that you're watching the races in, I would have to say, from what I've seen. Mark Langer says setting up our ice race car, same should work for your jump car. What setup, man? We're just gonna put a hogged out motor in that rascal and let it rip. I mean, there's no setup. You put a big motor in and you see who can hold it down the longest. We're doing nothing but straightaways and big breaks, brother. That's all we're gonna do. Supreme Baller, and I'm just joking. There's definitely gonna be a setup underneath that thing. Supreme Baller says Bell and Gibbs easily. So there you go. The poll is still up. I'll leave it up for a couple more minutes. But who would you have to start your team? Would you go with the team of Bell and Gibbs, or would you go with Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick? If you were starting up a new team today, who would be the two drivers you would pick there of those combinations? Because like I said earlier, I would take Bell and Reddick all day, and I'm not thinking that that's not off the table at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Gibbs poached one of those guys, poached Tyler Reddick and put him with Christopher Bell when either Truex or Hamlin retires. I predict Iceman says I predict Hamlin and Truex retire. Gibbs goes to a 3-car operation. The 19 turns into the 18 with John Hunter Nemechek, and the 11 goes to 2311 with Kurt Busch making a surprise return. It could happen. It could happen. I would counter that with I think they stay a 4-car team, and Denny might move over with the 11 if they let him keep the 11 and makes 2311 a 3-car team. Because I think if you're Toyota, you have to find seats for these guys. You got to find a seat for John Hunter Nemechek. You got to find a seat for Corey Heim, and you have got to find a seat for Sammy Smith. I feel like those are the top guys in the Toyota development program right now that have gone up to full-time touring series and have done well. So I feel like Toyota is going to find a seat for all of those young drivers because I think that they are very talented, and I think that they are the future for Toyota. Mark Langer says, we did pit stops on the ice to change both front tires, couldn't afford new tires. No one buys new tires. Don't buy new tires. They've got too much tread on them, and you got to shave them off anyway. 10 gallons of fuel, and the driver for a change in under 20 seconds. Felt for the crew guys, but we fed them steak dinners. Steak dinners make everything better. That's basically all you get at some late model levels too, some days. So nothing wrong with that. New drinking game: take a shot every time a driver says, or so, says Supreme Baller. Or you can I can't participate. It's against toss. I can't say that. So let's see. Don't worry, y'all. I'm going to hack into BB's PC. We'll have a live stream on Christmas, says Rich L. So there you go, Rich L. Rich L is going to hack the live stream. There will be a Christmas live stream. I'll tell you what, I'll think about it. I might, if it is a live stream, it's going to be really early on East Coast time, but I'll think about it. If you guys want a live stream, here, I'll end this poll. I'll let you guys vote on it. And much like Elon Musk, I will abide by the results of this poll. Not working. Christmas live stream. There we go. Christmas live stream, yes or no? I feel like it's self-explanatory. I will abide by the results of that, or whatever whatever everybody's trolling Elon Musk about this week. We will see here. Let's see. In an interview, says Supreme Baller. Oh yeah, okay, I got you. Every time a driver says or so, you have to take a drink of water when they're doing an interview. When they're doing an interview, every time they say yeah or so, you have to hydrate yourself with an ice cold glass of water. My favorite water is Diet Coke here. So it is what it is. Let's see. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, by the way. I hope it doesn't go to streaming. It would make things worse again for NASCAR, says Iceman. Yeah, if it goes streaming, that's going to be a total disaster. Whatever races they put on there, it's just not going to be good. Mark Langer says, we used to stuff Jaeger in the snowbank for our after race drink. Man, so many memories of the licorice aftertaste of the Jägermeister there. Let's see. Molten Rage says, yes, I'm a Florida man. Oh, confirmed. Yeah, Molten Rage is a Florida man. We will now refer to you as Florida man, Molten Rage. We'll confirm I'm in Jacksonville, even though Bristol is my favorite track. Daytona is very close to my heart. It is my second favorite track. It's been my hometown track. So you're at the very top then. So the cool thing about Jacksonville is when you hit Jacksonville, you got to realize you have just started your journey in Florida, and it goes on much further. Especially if you're going to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. When you hit Jacksonville, it feels like you've really just started again. You just started the road trip again. But Daytona's sort of midway through, so Daytona's not too bad. St. Augustine is actually probably my favorite place in Florida, just as far as visiting and stuff like that. But Jack's beaches are pretty cool too. A lot of stuff to do in Jacksonville as well. Florida's just a pretty cool state altogether. Let's see, or interesting at the very least, I should say. Iceman says, I think Rick Ware Racing in the 15 will give its charter to the 36 for Ford. Front Row Motorsports car for Zane Smith, and the Wood Brothers Racing 21 will give its charter to Nice, with Carson Hocevar racing full time in the 40. I think the Wood Brothers are going to hold on to theirs, but Nice Motorsports is looking for a charter. So it's going to be interesting to see what they try to do as far as getting a charter somewhere. Rick Ware Racing and Front Row Motorsports, I could see them combining. That is something that could happen. I've kind of been waiting for Front Row Motorsports to make a move and combine with somebody, whether it be a bigger team or combine them with something like Rick Ware Racing as well. If they're going to try streaming, try it on the lower series first, then try it on Cup. Don't know why they're testing it on Cup first. Shaking my head. That's a good point, Jonathan W. Very good point. Last year, Cindric was in a Mercedes. That's it. That's what I was thinking of. I think he's racing in that Mercedes again, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be mistaken, Iceman. So don't take my word for it. I haven't researched that one. I just remember he's racing in something. I saw it earlier in the year, and I can't remember what it is. Mark Barnum says, haven't heard yet, but I wonder if Cindric, Burton, and Deegan and Briscoe will do the IMSA Pilot Challenge this year. Ford set that up, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did it again, because I think it's definitely possible for them to do it again. Mark Langren said Austin will run a Ford in the lower series, and I haven't heard of any Cup drivers at the 24. The entry list is available, so I have to look at that, take a look at that and see who's driving what. Definitely want to see who's driving those new Cadillacs. Donnie Love, How many races do you think Kyle Busch will win in the 8 car this year? I would set the over-under at 3. I would say 3 or less. I'm putting him right there. I think he can do exactly what Reddick did, so I'd say 3 or less. Molten Rage says Chase Briscoe most likely will be in the 24 Hours of Daytona. He usually is on the entry list. I don't know why, but it's like trend with him. Just for some reason being in the 24 Hours of Daytona. Yeah, he enjoys road course racing for sure. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him in there. I'll have to take a look, but I don't know if anybody is going to drive. I haven't heard anything, but I felt like Austin Cindric. I felt like they said he was going to race this year in something, but I'll have to take a look at it again. Mark Langer says, I will let you know if we put a ice car together. We require helmets, a Hans. I've got both of those. A triple, I've got that. We'll let you know. We run on a shoestring, but it's always at the front. Well, I'll take care of that. I will be the lead man in that relay race, and then you can make up time for me because obviously it'll be my first stab at ice racing. So I'll start us off wrong and let you guys hero us to the win. Mark Langer says you have to be in a Porsche though. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. On the ice, I'm not remotely scared of that. Mark, it looked like that combination will do pilot this year. Please, chump car, not champ car. I mean, it used to be chump car, but they call it champ car now. I like chump car myself, but I'm trying to be accurate. But then again, I always call the Xfinity Series the Busch Series. So who cares? I will just start calling it chump car. Chump car it is. Philip Canavan. These guys pulled a yugo in a river by Pittsburgh. It was in the river since '85. The video is on YouTube. I'll have to check that out. I will have to check that out. The auto. Oh, that stinks. I hate that for you, Philip. YouTube does that sometimes if you post a link. So if you like type out a comment and then put the link, usually it leaves it up there. So feel free to put the link up there. Just put a comment with it. But yeah, it's all good. You can put links in here. I'm not I'm not going to be about that. But sometimes YouTube itself will take them out for some reason. Train 420 says Jones, picking Jones to win the 500. Nothing wrong with that. I would like to see the 43 win another Daytona 500. That'd be cool. Go to the Grassroots Motorsports tent, but contact them beforehand, says Mark Langren. Okay, I got a Grassroots subscription, so I'll get on it. I will see what's up. Mark Langren says Molten Rage, go to Brumos. I rock with the GT3 11s. Charlotte Anders says Dave Blaney did not win any races in Cup. Okay, so he didn't win. So he was winning a race. I think it was in Atlanta, Charlotte Ander. He was winning a race in Atlanta, and I want to say he was either in that 77 Jasper Ford or he was in that 93 Amico Dodge. He was in one or the other, but he dominated that race, and he lost a wheel. And so I couldn't remember if he had won that or not. Like if he lost the wheel after the race, obviously. So it's going to be I'll have to find that race. But he was dominating a race. He was going to win a race, and then he lost a tire in either that 77 Jasper or the number 93. It might have been both of them. He might have done it twice, if I'm not mistaken. I'll research that though. But that's what I'm thinking of. So I thought he had won a race. He definitely dominated one. He definitely did everything but win a race. So I'll have to find that. I might make a video about it. Since it has been a slow off season so far, I can do stuff like that. The following is a joke. I thought if you all had accents until I heard Jeff Burton's accent. I know I'm a Chastain fan. I love Kurt. Watched Darlington's 2003. Jeff's annoying, but I feel no hate toward the man. So yeah, he definitely has he has that strong South Boston accent. But Ward Burton has the best accent of all, no doubt about it. Let's see. GTD Pro and GTD run GT3 cars next year. They will be legal at Le Mans. Okay, so there's also got you. There's also other divisions that will also cross over. So that's interesting as well. I knew about the prototypes. I didn't know about the rest of them. So appreciate it, Mark Langer, for clearing that up. Let's see. Say Kyle Not Cal says underrated 90s driver intros. Ward Burton's number 22 Caterpillar Dodge. Yep, no doubt about it. Ward was the man, still is the man. If you watch his nature channel, or his Instagram, I should say, is a nature channel, and it's awesome. He's always picking up snakes and doing crazy stuff. Ryan Rollman, Philadelphia Eagles News. Do you think FedEx will stay after 2023 or leave? I think they will stay on, but I don't think it will be full time like they have been. I think they'll go to probably a half or less of the schedule they've got now. But that's just how I feel about it. And I say that because back in the day, even though Frederick Smith put them, whenever you had a market downturn or whatever, Frederick Smith stuck with it. But now you have a new CEO, you have a new person in charge of marketing. Whenever you get a new person in there, they always want to look like they're super qualified. So they tend not to do aggressively crazy things because that could make them lose their job or whatever like that. So I feel like they will do what's in the best interest of FedEx, because they don't have the iron fist of the guy that basically owns it or created it. So I feel like they will take a more measured approach, to whereas he was like, hey, I founded this, I built this, I do what I want. I don't feel like if you're put in that position, you're going to have that same mentality to an extent. So I see them going to, like, I still think they see NASCAR as an important avenue for their marketing and stuff like that. So I think they will go to maybe like half of the amount of races that they had done. And Joe Gibbs Racing will have to find, and this is just me thinking out loud, I have no inside information or anything like that. That's just what I see it happening going forward. So I think they'll go to probably half the races that they had, or something of that nature. Mark Langren says, how many tapes do you need to convert? I don't know, dude. I would have to probably, I know of at least 3. It could be 3 to 6. So safely, we'll just go 4. We'll just go 4. And they're all from the 80s, I want to say. I don't think any of them are from the 90s. So I think they're all from the 80s. And mainly I want to convert them for the commercials. I love those old 80s commercials. They were so cheesy in a good way. So that's actually what I wanted to talk about. Rather watch flies. Oh man, Supreme Baller hitting them hard here. Rather watch flies do the dirty than watch ESPN. Says Supreme Baller. Mark Langer says racing is racing. I agree, man. Racing, if you can get in a race car, get in a race car, man. Mark Langer says his number is 0011. 0011. 011. So that's all good. I like that for a Porsche team. That's a pretty cool number. Pretty clever number. Instead of 911, or it's the 011. Pretty slick. Pretty slick. I like it. Rich L says, now all we hear about is Karen Rogers. Oh, Karen Rogers. I hadn't heard that one. I'm not big on the Midwest junk talking about the Packers. I don't know. I don't have as much knowledge about it. I'm a 49ers fan, even though I live in North Carolina. North Carolina didn't have a team for a long time, so I just went with the 49ers. And then about the time I went with the 49ers, we got the Carolina Panthers. So I'm happy I'm a 49ers fan, because God bless, if you're a Panthers fan, good luck to you. You have been to 2 Super Bowls and lost them, though, so there is that. Mark Barnum says Slinger and Knoxville are the best races SRX did. Yeah, they were definitely good. South Boston, I watched it live, and I had a blast while I was there. So I feel like if you go to a SRX race, obviously we've already covered this, but if you go to a race, it's always better at the race. We definitely covered that earlier in the show. But I was impressed with the SRX experience that I got to enjoy. Springballer says, wouldn't be surprised if Kurt Busch comes back. I wish he would. He is a legend. I'd love to see Kurt Busch come back in some capacity. I hate that. I hate if his career ends like that. I hate that it ends like that. But he had a heck of a career. So if he comes back, I hope he gets a chance to come back and gets to go out on his own terms at the very least. Robin Mark says, I've got a poll. How many people have rolled a vehicle? So I'm going to leave this one up for a little bit longer. I will try to keep that one in my head as we go through here. But I will. That's a pretty good poll question. I do like that, Robin Marks. So I'm going to leave this poll. Go ahead and vote on the poll. Should I do a Christmas live stream? Should I not? If I do, I'm going to do it early in the morning. So be East Coast time at least, early-ish in the morning. Try to do it while everybody's having breakfast. So I'll do it in the middle of the rush. It'll probably be the worst watch one ever, or the most watched one ever. I don't know. But it'll be interesting. So but let me know. If you guys want me to do one on Christmas, I'll do one on Christmas. I originally wasn't going to do it because I didn't want to take people's time away from their family. But 52% of people don't like their family. So we will, I'm just joking. We will just We will just go with whatever the poll says, and if the poll, we will let the poll speak for itself. All right, Mark Langer says, so you have a DW car. It really handles well in a straight line. Yep, pretty much. Stephen Parsons better get a ride next year. He's overachieved and mediocre. Too bad Xfinity rides. Like he took BJ McLeod Motorsports 99, a terrible car, and ran 15. Parsons deserves a full-time ride. I think he'll get every chance. He'll get every chance. He's got a good name. Mark Langer says the mods are to make your car have a good suspension and then get it on the scales and use strings for alignment, says Mark Langren. We used to do some of that stuff with late models back in the day, but now it's all pull down machines and stuff like that. Supreme Baller says Bell, Reddick, John Hunter Nemechek, and Gibbs. That'd be insanity. Oh yeah, that's what Joe Gibbs should be. But if 2311 can beat them to the punch and get all those drivers, that would be interesting as well. Pitting in ice racing, says Mark Langren. There's nothing wrong with pitting in ice racing. Let's see. You at least have to put gas in there, I would imagine. Bo Darvel, if you were Toyota, who would you have more confidence in? Coach Gibbs, who is old, has no one to take over and is banking his future partly on a spoiled grandson and just lost KFB, or Michael Jordan, who also is old, but not as old as Joe Gibbs. Let's see. I added that last part, by the way. Bo Darvel didn't put that in there. The Bandit did not put that in there. I added that last part. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, definitely, if you're Toyota and you're looking at and we know Toyota is absolutely ruthless, right? So if from a business perspective, if you're looking at it from Toyota's perspective, why would you not go with 2311? Help 2311 buy 2 more charters, and then you're right on pace with what Joe Gibbs Racing is doing. It is what it is. Mark Langren says, Rich L, let me know if you need help. My last job was in industrial network security. Here we go. Hacking the channel for Rich and Mark are going to bring you the live stream on Christmas. Go get that software where you can put my face and one of you guys is talking, but it's actually like my face talking. I don't know if you guys have seen that stuff. They've been doing some pretty crazy stuff with that AI crap here recently. So go ahead, go for it. just don't lose my channel. Mark Langren, they make an excellent sponsor. The ladies were wonderful. Also, there you go. That's pretty cool, man. I missed the sponsor though. Yep, sponsor somewhere in there. But anyway, 2311, Michaels, 23, Denny in the 11, a third car on the team, add up to 23, would be 23 plus 11 would be 34 for Wendell Scott. That would work well with Michael and Bubba. Yep, they would just have to wrestle it from away from front row because Michael McDowell runs that number now. And Rich L giving Mark the fist bump for taking over the channel. Molten Ray says, anyone remember when Ryan Newman made the playoffs in a Roush car? He did so good, and that made Roush kick Stenhouse out of the Roush family. I kind of miss Newman on track. Yeah, Ryan Newman was a heck of a race car driver. There's no doubt about it. Everywhere he went, he made struggling teams get better, and then but he felt like he had a 3-year shelf life. You were going to get 3 years out of Ryan Newman, then he kind of needed to move on somewhere. That was always my take on Ryan Newman. Donnie Love, if NASCAR is not going to allow practice, they should let teams go test again. I agree that you should at least have an hour. Every racetrack, you should at least have an hour test before you go on and race the race, including the 125s at Daytona. Stephen D'Amelio Jr. says it was a Bill Davis 93 when the wheel was loose. So that's what it was. He was driving the 93 Dodge Amoco car, I think at Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. And he dominated that race. He almost had it felt like the field was a lap down, and then his tire came off and he lost. Rich L, Molten, I remember 100, so they're remembering. Bo Darvel said, I know if Ty Gibbs or John Hunter Nemechek will ever be quality cup drivers, the only thing they've done is win when they have the very best equipment, that's fair. John Hunter Nemechek chokes in the biggest moments, even when he has the best equipment, says Bo Darvel, the Bandit. That's a fair statement. So you prove it. So you prove it in the in lesser equipment, or at least even equipment, which would be essentially what it is in the Cup Series. Even amongst Joe Gibbs Racing, 2311, Hendrick and Penske, those guys have been at the top of the game for a long time. And then just below them, you would have Stewart-Haas Racing, RCR, and whoever else you want to throw in that mix, Colleague. So yeah, until you prove it at that level, I feel like that is a fair statement. Although I'm big on all those guys' talents, a fair critique is to say they haven't won in cars that were necessarily considered lesser than their opponents. Like, let's say Ross Chastain. When he was driving that Nice Motorsports truck, he didn't have the best truck, but he still was able to win races. That's all I'm saying about that. Molten Rage, I give Ryan Newman one last season to go out on a high note. He did not get the send-off he deserves. I agree with you. He's getting old, but come on, Ryan Newman deserved better. I agree with you, man. I hated that he didn't get a farewell tour like a lot of other guys get. So I agree. The car number is 97. I wanted 911 GT3s for the IROC. Says Mark Langren. That would have been cool. Yeah, like the original IROC was a Porsche. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, I know you do, but I was throwing that out there for the ones that don't. Yeah, that would have been really super cool. Supreme Baller says Ward is awesome. Yeah, Ward is the man. No doubt about it. Mark Langer says the Queens got you beat by 4. This year they're trying to make it 5. Mark Langer said twice. Dead Man's Curve took out a telephone pole, and my new boss picked me up and took me to work. Oh, there you go. Man. A second one was on the ice trying to get – he's talking about flipping his car here. Second one was on the ice trying to get to the front row in the front of the Menards. Oh, man, that sucks, dude. Oh, man. Let's see. Molten Rage says, what's everyone's opinion on Stephen Parsons? Realistically, already basically showing you my bias. I think the kid is talented. That deserves a lot of credit for taking equipment like APR and BJMM and run great. I think he's a fair talent. There's nothing wrong with that. And then Mark Langren says Jaeger. So we're obviously not going to condone that, but make your own connections there. Mark Langren, Newman, and Kowicki are engineers. Engineers need more respect. Yeah, for sure. And here's a neat trick. If you don't know someone is an engineer, they will tell you, like when they walk in the door, like, hey, I'm an engineer. Watch any of Mark Rober's content. He will say, hey, I'm an engineer. My name is Mark Rober. That's how he always introduces himself. So yeah, that's an old engineering joke, by the way. Let's see. Mark Langren, Newman, and Kowicki. Just read that one. Philip Kenovan says the YouTube video with the Yugo is called Target Located. The missing mother. The video is 43 minutes long. So go to the 31 minutes. That is where it starts, and they find the Yugo. That's cool. I'm going to check that one out. Trying to get as much Yugo content as possible on this channel. We love the Yugo, and we're going to get a Yugo project going. When we hit 10,000, if I find a good enough deal, I will buy it before we hit 10,000. But actual work will not start until we hit 10,000. Let's see. Anyone see the Circle B diecast BJ McLeod car? It's pretty nice. Well, if you like it, everybody go in and buy that BJ McLeod car because they just canceled a bunch of cars today. They canceled Joey Logano's that white AAA car. They just canceled that one. So there's a bunch of them. They canceled the Matt Kenseth throwback that Christopher Buescher ran. They canceled a bunch of them today that will not get made. Mark Langer says, converted all my VHS tapes to DVD. Nothing wrong with that, man. I'm going to try to figure out how to convert at least one of them. I will try to convert at least one of them and then talk about it. That way I am enhancing the content or talking about it. But there will be at least one race we can call the full race on. Mark Langren, 74, not 97. Hey, it's 10 o'clock. 74, not 97. I got you, Mark. Supreme Baller, BB, you got to check out the Menards racing hats. They are so awesome. I will check them out. Are they at Menards? Because we don't have where I'm at. We don't have Menards down here, so I'll have to drive up to the nearest Menards, which might be maybe Northern Virginia, or I might have to go to West Virginia. We'll have to check them out. Mark Langer says, we still started the race and finished third, but helped the betters win the championship. So there you go. You were somebody's best teammate that day, Mark Langer. Nothing wrong with that. Mark Barnum says, Tom Majeski is an engineer at Thor Sport and drives. That is a fact. He worked for a team. He sat out as a driver 1 year and worked for a team as an engineer. It might have been Thor Sport, and then he started driving for one too. So it's pretty cool. That was a pretty cool deal. Tom Majeski is another guy. I wish he could get a full-time ride. At least in Xfinity. I think he's shown what he can do in trucks, and I'm pretty impressed what he can do in trucks. I'd like to see somebody move him up to Xfinity or even the Cup. I'd be happy with that too. I feel like he's criminally underrated. The guy's super talented. Anyway, BB, what are your expectations for Hendrick Motorsports drivers next year? I feel like they'll pick up where they left off. They'll all be good. I feel like Kyle Larson will have a better season than he had this year. Chase Elliott will keep doing what Chase Elliott does. I expect Bowman and William Byron to continue to get better and be better. So it is what it is. Mark Langren, I'm not that blunt, but we are engineered-based race team. Says Mark Langren. Yeah, I'm not saying anything bad against engineering. I got two associate engineering degrees myself, so it's just a joke. But yeah, and I got nothing against Mark Rober either. He's got great content. It's just funny that it's just like doctors. A doctor will always tell you he's a doctor. There's certain professions that you put in the hard work. So typically the people that got those degrees, they'll tell you about them. Let's see, which there's nothing wrong with. Say Kyle, not Cal. They canceled the Suarez Princess Cruises diecast as a travel agent. I want that so bad for my desk. Oh, that stinks, man. I hate that. That was actually a pretty good looking car too. It just is what it is. There's no rhyme or reason to what cars they cancel and don't cancel now. It stinks. I got a couple of them canceled on me. I got the two Petties, the Gain and the Tide car. They both got canceled. The 24s or something, the 124s I ordered or something. Both got canceled last year, and also the Darlington Throwback for the Petty Schemes. They both got canceled because I got both of those where they ran the 42 and the 43 from Lee and Richard when they ran the Daytona 500. Both of those got canceled too, so it stinks when they get canceled. But I've definitely been there. Super bummed out about that because I wanted both of those cars because I have the the retro version, and I wanted to have the newer version that they ran at Darlington as well. But it is what it is. Can't win them all. Let's see. Supreme Baller, nice and green. They're sponsoring a car for him. Oh, that's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty cool. Supreme Baller, it's on eBay and like Poshmark and stuff, but they have some really nice ones on eBay. It says Supreme Baller. Okay, so yeah, that's another thing. A lot of your custom diecast guys, they'll put their stuff on eBay. So if you have one that's not been released, go check eBay. And at the very least, get a hold of the person selling it and talk to them because they might be able to make a custom for you. I know Race Car Graveyard does a great job. And also there's a guy, Sammy D. Let them know down below where they can contact you if they need a custom diecast. There's a guy that watches this channel named Sammy D. Sammy D's Customs. He does good work as well. So if you need a custom diecast, get up with Sammy D. Mark Langer says, let me know what races. I will give you that tape. Let me know on tape conversions. I will give you a hand. We'll have to get something going with that, Mark Langer, because I would like to convert at least one of them. Tyler Williams, what's up, Tyler? BB, do you think Kyle Busch took a pay cut to go to RCR, or do you think they actually matched his Joe Gibbs Racing salary? I would say, Tyler, that he probably took a pay cut. But I'm also thinking that there's some incentives in there to where if he hits certain performance marks, that he will get probably close to what he was making. I would imagine, though, he took a pay cut because I'm pretty sure those sponsors had already signed on and they just kept their sponsorship deal. They just rotated the driver in. So I'm pretty sure he's making a little bit more than what Tyler Reddick made, but I would expect that there are some major driver bonus incentives for him to hit. And I think that's one of the things that I could see the Childress Group building in incentives for you to get, the rest of your salary or getting a big chunk of your salary in bonus money and stuff like that. But yeah, I do think he took a pay cut overall, but I think with it, incentive clauses and stuff like that, I think he could definitely get a lot closer to what he was making at Gibbs. To me, I don't think the money is that big I think it was made a big deal to sort of take some pressure off of Gibbs for not re-signing him, but I don't think it was ever as big a deal as they made it. But that's just my opinion. My pick for the 24 Hours of Le Mans is Wayne Taylor Motorsports, number 10 Acura. That is not a bad pick, Mark Witkowski. I'm going with Cadillac. I've been a Cadillac guy since they got in, even when they had that terrible open car prototype that didn't do anything, the North Star prototype. But I've been with Cadillac since then, so I'm gonna stick with them. Pratt and Miller design. I've always been with Pratt and Miller, so I also like the Corvettes. So those are the two teams I mostly keep up with in the 24 hours. But I love all those cars, so I'll just be pulling for all of them. It's going to be an absolute trip to see all of those things up close and live. I'm really looking forward to that. Mark Barnum says, I'm a recliner driver. I win the race to the bathroom every day. Nothing wrong with that, Mark Barnum. A good race to win, too, by the way. Tyler, I bet KB did take a pay cut. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he took a pay cut, but I'm pretty sure he's got some incentives in there that can bump that pay back up. Would not surprise me at all. Holiday Inn sponsored the 23 car. My boss got one. We didn't. He didn't want it, so I got it. Oh, that's a pretty cool score right there. I always like free die casts are always the best die casts. Supreme Baller says the good Menards hat on eBay. So I'll check the Menards hat on eBay. I got you, Supreme Baller. John Hunter Nemechek has talent. I will say has talent. I will say he's a driver, but he's also going. He's not going to go anywhere or to a championship if he doesn't start listening to his pit crew and not make over aggressive mistakes for no reason. Yeah, he's one of those drivers that sort of has the red mist. Like he gets too emotional inside of the race car. He's got to learn to tone it down. But then again, his teammate Ty Gibbs, I mean, you can say the same thing about him. So, and you can say it for the most part about every young driver. You just never know which ones are going to mature and come into it and learn how to calm down in a race car and which ones aren't. That's what makes it fun, right? So, Supreme Baller says the nice ones with the racing number on the side or a nice camo one. I do like the ones with the racing number on the side, like this one right here. The old got the old Kyle Larson hat here. Let's see. Tyler Williams says, Donnie, I imagine he had to. I can't read today. Donnie, I imagine he had to have. I doubt anyone would have paid him as much as Joe Gibbs Racing did. I agree, and that's part of Joe Gibbs Racing's bad business model right now. As well, they're sort of stuck in that pay cycle where they still want $26 million for a season, and I just don't see that in this particular economic climate as being something that's functional. And I feel like they found that out the hard way with Kyle Busch. Molten Ray says, I can't get over John Hunter, a talented driver, but again, he needs to listen to his pit crew, not make over-aggressive decisions that screws them out of good point stays for the championship. I mean, yeah, but every young driver goes through it at some point. They have to learn how to do it. I mean, that's what half of Days of Thunder is about, is Cole Trickle learning to listen to Harry Hyde, right? There's a reason that's in that movie. It happens with all young drivers. Speaking about diecast NASCARs, what do y'all prefer? The confetti all over the car or the clean version? Whichever one I can get on sale. And it just depends on the race. Like for a Daytona 500, I want the confetti on the car and stuff like that. For just like a really good paint job, like like Darlington when they do the throwbacks, where it's just a really good paint job that I like. I like the car to be nice and clean, looking as good as it possibly can look. So it just depends on, it just sort of depends on which race and the reason you're buying it. If I like the paint job, I want it to be clean. If I'm buying it because I want to remember the race victory, or the race victory was special or something like that, I get the race win version. Donnie Love, Tyler, it will be interesting to see who is the highest paid driver this year. That's always interesting to see. You would have to imagine it's got to be Chase Elliott, right? It's got to be Chase Elliott, no doubt about it, right? And I'd probably say, surprisingly, two of the lowest paid drivers, I would imagine, would probably have to be Kyle Busch right now and Kyle Larson. I bet they're making probably the least amount of money out of guys that have won championships. I'll put it that way. Say Kyle, not Cal, for very different reasons. But I hope the BetMGM goes all in with KFB. He's from Vegas. That would be awesome. That would be a good deal for them. And that's also a really good looking car, that black and gold, and it also goes with the 3 Chi black and gold as well. So you could start to get a black and gold motif for KFB. Would be really cool to see him step up and do commercials and marketing and have more races on the 8. That would be a cool deal. Tyler Williams, the highest paid driver this year, is probably either Hamlin or Harvick, if I had to guess. Those would be two good options too, because they're veteran paid contracts. So I would say either Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, or Kevin Harvick. Those are two other good options there for sure. Who else would be in that conversation? Believe it or not, I would probably put Bubba Wallace in that conversation, because if you look at all the sponsor money he's got coming in, I feel like Bubba Wallace could be in that conversation too. So Hamlin, Harvick, Bubba Wallace, and probably Chase Elliott. Those would be probably my top 4 as far as who's making what. Donnie Love said those are two great guesses. Agreeing with Tyler. Molten Rage, Pit Crew, not Pit. Yeah, I got you, Molten. Bo Darvel, the Bandit, says Nemechek's dad was really good in the lower series as well. Busch Series champ, but wasn't that good in the Cup Series, even in a Hendrick car. He did all right. He won some races. So I mean, he won. He probably won more races in the Andy Petrie stuff than he did the Hendrick stuff, to be honest. But he was a pretty good race car driver. Always enjoyed watching him. But he definitely put up more numbers in the Busch Series, no doubt. Molten Ray says, honestly agree with young drivers like Hunter, Gibbs. Most of them need to watch Days of Thunder to see that you don't need to be over aggressive. You just need to be smart with your decisions. Yeah, there you go. Use Days of Thunder as a teaching tool. Joe Gibbs probably signed Ty Gibbs for room and board. Yeah, no doubt. He most likely signed him pretty cheap, would be my guess. Say Kyle, not Cal. I had 24 Atlanta and the 24 Martinsville show up this week. Was so excited. Both look great with the confetti. Pole, raced, or win, or regular version. So let me go ahead and looks like we're doing a Christmas live stream, guys. Looks like a 52% yes on the Christmas live stream. So 55% of the people said yes, they don't want to see me do a live stream. So no live stream on Christmas. No problem, guys. Glad I could help you there. Just kidding. I will do the live stream for Christmas. Let's see. Yeah, Ty Gibbs is definitely got to be the most underpaid, or not underpaid, but probably makes the least amount of money. Let's see. Aside from guys that probably paid to be in the Cup Series, there's definitely some of those. I had my 24 Atlanta and 24 Martinsville show up this week. Just read that one. Same BB, I only like the Daytona with confetti on it. Otherwise, I want my car to be clean, says Rich L. There you go. Yeah, it just depends on the race, right? I got the Martinsville race that I went to. William Byron won it in that ugly Raptor car. So I got a small version of that with the race confetti on it, just because I wanted to remember that race, because the reason I wanted to remember that race is because the 24 car won again for a long period of time. Every time I went to Martinsville, Jeff Gordon won. So I got a pretty good chuckle out of it when William Byron in that ugly Raptor car, ugly to me. I know there were some people in the chat that liked that Raptor car. But ugly to me, 24 Raptor car that I hated to look at. Once again, I was foiled by the 24 at Martinsville. So I was like, Fair play to them. I had to buy a race to win version of it, so I got the small one, and it should be on the way if I'm not mistaken. I've seen a lot of people have already gotten theirs. Donnie Love said Scott Wimmer ran good in Bill Davis cars. That is a fair point. Scott Wimmer did run good in Bill Davis cars, but other than him and Ward Burton, I don't remember anybody running super great consistently in Bill Davis equipment. No NASCAR hat on Menard's website, says Mark Langren. Yeah, I checked eBay. eBay is where the good Menard's hat is at, Mark Langren. Let's see. Like these young talent drivers, honestly, need to take a book out of the Days of Thunder and watch it and know and listen to your pit crew. Don't make over-aggressive decisions. Be smarter instead of being moronic. Well said, Moulton. No doubt about it. Rich L says, not trying to be a hater. I'm not a fan of Menard's paint schemes. It depends on the Menard's paint schemes. I like those old ones back in the day when they were like a Duke blue to navy blue with the bright, almost like a pin line with the bright colors down the side. I thought those looked really good. But it's all in what you like. Some people like those super bright neon colors. Sometimes they're orange. Most of the time they're neon yellow. Molten Ray says, but Rich L, save big money when you shop Menards or whatever that slogan is. Rich L, like that one. Let's see, Mark Langren, Bubba's salary is $2 million, and the basketball player took away $1 million for his action with Larson. So there you go. Mark Langren, my Daytona comment got grayed out. Huh. I feel like I could still see it up here, though. I don't know. I don't know, Mark. Put it just retype it and I'll read it. Sometimes, like I said, YouTube's had some glitches here recently. Let's see. Unless you're near an Ally car, if you have a Menards paint scheme, you're near an Ally paint scheme, your car better hide away or your rear end is dead. So according to Moulton, those Ally paint schemes, they're magnetically attracted to Menards cars. There you go. Rich L with a yes, sir. Mark Langren, BMW, less than 8 hours. Acura, 8 to 10 hours. Corvette has less than 12 hours based on previous history of new cars. If a GTP car wins, it will be a Penske Porsche. That's pretty good analysis there, Mark. I like it. Porsche is always good anyway. Porsche has a strong history at Daytona. Maybe not recently, but in the past, they've had a very strong history. Porsche, Audi, whatever you want to call them, Volkswagen, all basically the same company now. What do you think of Byron? And if you're a Porsche purist, I'm not hating. Like I've got the Porsche thing right there. What do you think of Byron? Is he staying at Hendrick forever? And also, I think he'll stay at Hendrick as long as he's got sponsorship by Anthony Auto Club. As long as he's got sponsorship, he'll stay there. And also, how many wins and championships if he stays at Hendrick? I could see him getting one championship if he stays there the whole time. At this current point in his driver development, I don't see him as better than Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson, but he's younger than both of them. And I do feel like he'll get a championship. He's kind of going to be the reverse of Joey Logano. He's going to be the guy that got there when he was really young, but he stayed with the same team. And I do think he'll get, if he stays there his entire career, he will get a championship for sure. Rich L says, Moulton, I've never been to a Menards. I don't even think we've got any of those out here in Colorado. What do they sell? So Rich L, a Menards, it's basically like a Lowe's. It's basically just like a Lowe's home improvement type deal. I've been to one in Indianapolis, and that's about it. So that's the only one I've ever been to. Menards discount is a joke. You have to mail in to get your 11%, says Mark Barnum. Oh God, you have to mail in a rebate. That's old school. That's wow. Taking it back to the 80s and 90s when you had to mail in to get your rebate money. Corn-fed cover says home improvement store like Home Depot in the Midwest. They also have good snacks. Oh yeah. They're always what are those? It's always some potato chip. Whenever you're watching the Arca Menard series, they always talk about some potato chip. There's some potato chip they always talk about. I think it's Utz or something like that. And then there's Sioux Chief pipe fittings or something like that. And then they have Menards commercials. I saw like a ton of those when we went up to Indianapolis to race the little electric car. Let's see. Mark, now I know I'm not missing anything, and I won't go into one, says Rich L. LOL. There you go. Molten Rage. Just go to the Home Depot beside the Daytona Speedway, and there you go. It's pretty much the same thing. Just a home improvement store. The Home Depot by the Speedway is where I used to park every time I went to Daytona, but I'm not sure if you can do that anymore without paying some money. Molten Rage says Paul Menard and Jimmy Johnson have a relationship where Menard does all the time to Jimmy Johnson. Johnson, some reason, really loves wrecking Paul Menard. It's just funny to me. So there you go. See, Kyle Not Cow is a 24 fan. I thought the normal Raptor car was ugly. The backup car they did where they left the white base and didn't wrap the entire car, I thought looked good. So yeah, you can actually do it that way. Sorry, Mark Langren. I've grown up my whole life saying Porsche. I'm going to keep saying Porsche, but I will try to remember to say Porsche. So Porsche. Sorry, Mark. It's a super bad habit, but it's going to be a hard one to break. But I'll try to keep you in mind. Rich, I go to Menards for yard work type of stuff, says Mark Barnum. Hare's chips. That's what corn-fed covers. Hers or Hare's. I can't even remember, but it was always a commercial on. It reminded me of Utz. The bags look like Utz chips, but it's however you say that word, Hare's or Hers chips, Hare's chips. Mark Langer says, never let Andretti in a Porsche. Sorry, Mark. They are the ones that can break a Porsche last time, 1984, with the only 962. So there you go. Rich L says, forgot to tell y'all, Mark Martin will have some old school diecast coming out. Right now, it's on pre-order. All right, so there you go. If you're a Mark Martin fan, go out and get that pre-order for the Mark Martin gear, because if you don't pre-order it, they won't make them. That's just unfortunately where we're at with diecast these days. Remember John Menard's age, says Mark Langren. I don't remember his age, but I am glad his son got a win at Indianapolis in a NASCAR race. I feel like that was like probably the biggest win of that season, even though it had nothing to do with anything points related or anything like that. It was just a great story. So there you go, markmartinarchive.com. Check it out. There's the link. Rich L has put the link down there, so go check them out. TJ Moorshed says, found a weird 1/43rd scale version of Paul Menard's 21 at Menards in South Bend, Indiana in 2019. Bring back 1/43rd scale. 1/43rd scale is a great scale. First off, it's probably the most collectible because it's the oddest size and there's less of them. So for something to be collectible, there has to be a smaller amount than a normal amount. So I feel like the 1/43rd has a good market. I've got one Richard Petty Racing Champions and one Dale Earnhardt Racing Champions in 1/43rd scale, and that is the let's see. Yeah, that's the extent of my collection of 1/43rds. That's all I got, just two of them. Rich L with that oh, there we go, Molten Rage. It just feels like every time I see the 48, it's near the 21, and it's going to kill the 21. The only one I remember is like that Daytona when he first went to the Ally car, his very first race in the Ally car, when he won the Gatorade duels, I guess it was that year, and he put Paul Menard in the fence, or Paul Menard. It just depends on your perspective on that one. It just depends on your perspective. Either Paul Menard came down or Jimmy Johnson went up, depending on how you look at it. That's the only one I remember. But you're more on top of that than I am. Can I call you an Englishman by accident? That's fine with me. Not a problem, Mark. He's from the mail-in era, not the internet age. Oh, there you go. The mail-in era, not the internet age. That's a fact. Talking about the mail-in discount coupons. Nothing wrong with that. All right. We have reached the end of this one, so I will call it a day. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas. I will do a brief live stream on Christmas because that's what you guys voted for. So look for that in the morning of Christmas. And until then, peace.